Deafrowe with Deafrowe TV, and I'm back again with another review, a brand spanking new review of the movie Monkey Shines, directed by George A. Romero, co-written by George A. Romero and Michael Stewart, and with the special effects done by none other than the great Tom Savini. We have the 1988 Monkey Shines. Before I get started on this review, please remember to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, share if you can. Let's get started on this review. 1988 Monkey Shines, a horror sci-fi at its best from none other than George A. Romero. We get started. I want to tell you that Jason Begg plays the main character of Alan Mann. John Pankow plays his best friend, Jeffrey Fisher. Kate McNeil plays Melanie Parker, the main monkey trainer in this movie. Joyce Van Patten plays Dorothy Mann, the mother of Alan Mann, obviously. Christine Forrest plays Marianne Hodges, which is the one nurse who kind of sticks around for the most part in the movie. Stephen Root is not looking for his red stapler in this movie, but he is playing Dean Burbage. Stanley Tucci is Dr. John Weissman. And Janine Turner is Linda Aikman, which plays the girlfriend at the very beginning of the movie, as you will see here. And William Newman plays Doc Williams, and I'll point him out when we get to him because has a very familiar face, and you might have seen him from the movie The Stand by Stephen King, the original one from the '90s, that is. So let's get started on Monkey Shines 1988, shall we? Now we start off, we see this Alan Mann character is a very fit individual, and he gets up early in the morning right after having his time with his girlfriend, Miss Linda Aikman. And of course, he's so fit. He's got weights on his ankles, like you can see there, weights on his arms, and he's also putting his backpack on that has bricks inside of it, and he's put more bricks in there. So he's a very fit individual that runs a lot. And at the very beginning of the movie, they kind of give you a synopsis of just how fit this guy is, and it shows you like pictures of him with trophies from different marathons and that kind of thing. And of course, like this little short part here where he's running and everything, but he comes across this dog that is like basically strapped to the fence of the area that he's running, and he goes onto the sidewalk at this point right here, as you can see. And when he goes up onto the sidewalk, this dog lunges out at him while he's on the sidewalk. And as the dog lunges out at him at the sidewalk, he jumps off the sidewalk and right in front of a vehicle coming down the other way. And that's how he ends up with this very, very bad back injury you see right here. And the back injury puts him pretty much on an operating table of Dr. John Weissman, which decides he's going to have to open him up from the back and in order to fix the injured spinal cord right there at the neck. But it doesn't all go according to plan. Obviously, he can't completely fix him, and he ends up as a quadriplegic and having to use one of them wheelchairs that you use the mouthpiece to move around. And as you can see here, they're playing like a welcome back party, and Dr. John Weissman shows up in his nice brand new Porsche from 1988, obviously, and a cocky spinal surgeon, and he's going to the welcome party of Mr. Mann here. And what you don't know at this point is the girlfriend right here. She's going around the house during this party and just collecting her things here and there, like the stuff she would leave there when she was with him. And apparently, she kind of just like ghosts him pretty much, and decides to get up with the doctor that ended up having to treat her boyfriend for the spinal injury Kind of odd if you think about it. So yeah, she's kind of like sneaking around the house, grabbing her little things in here and there, and shoving them into her purse and make sure nobody sees her. And then of course she's acting like, "Oh, I'm happy to see you," and then I'm out the door. So yeah, he comes back to the house and he just, he pretty much he kind of figures out what's going on, like why people are not sticking around and that kind of thing. Anyway, but then we cut to Mr. Jeffrey Fisher, Alan's best friend, who's in a lab messing around with some chemicals, and one of the chemicals he's messing around with, he's mixing it with like human brain samples, and he's mixing it with a chemical that he's concocted himself and injecting it into the monkeys to see if he can make them smarter than an average monkey. And yeah, here's the monkey that he's injecting. And at the very beginning of the movie, they do flash something up on the screen saying that no monkeys were actually injured or injected or anything in this movie. So don't, no animals were harmed in the making of this movie. Just letting you know. Anyway, this monkey's real name is Boo, and the name in the movie is Ella. So there we go. Well, what happens is Jeffrey gets a message on his answer machine saying, "Hey, where are you? You're supposed to be at the party." And then like, oh shit, he forgot about the whole thing. So now he's headed over to Alan's house to just talk to him about the things that happened and everything else. And he's just happy to see him because it is his best friend and the only one that kind of stuck around with him throughout his whole ordeal. Anyway, we get further along, and Jeffrey is having a meeting with his boss at the lab, and it's none other than Stephen Root playing Dean Burbage here, as you can see. And of course, he's not asking about a red stapler in this movie. No, he is asking how come you haven't produced any results with the stuff that you've been coming up with. You're supposed to be making some type of chemical or something that would make these monkeys smarter, and and he's like, we pay for all these monkeys. You need to, show us some results and all this other stuff. That's what he's basically there for. Is like to push Jeffrey buttons, pretty much, and try to get him to actually do something. And of course, like this doctor right here, this Dean Burbage, whatever, he has no care whatsoever for these animals like Jeffrey does, and he just wants to slice and dice as much as he can just to experiment. So he's not a good dude, not a good dude at all. So we find out later that not Dean, Alan is having trouble in his house trying to do things around the house, and they got this system set up where he like says different numbers and it opens the door, opens the blinds, starts the radio, and all this kind of stuff. And it's a voice activated system, and he's having trouble remembering which number does what, and he's getting frustrated with everything, and he's essentially by himself at this time in the house, and then Jeffrey comes back around that afternoon just to check up on him because, like I said, they are best friends. And he just wants to see what Alan's up to because he's had a bad day and had to talk to his boss about all this kind of crap. And he comes in and he finds. Let's see if I go back far enough and see for yourself. He finds Alan. Basically, finds Alan trying to commit suicide with a plastic bag over his head. And lucky enough, Jeffrey got there in time to save him, and he's in the hospital talking to the doctor about it. And the doctor's like, "Yeah, this is a common thing you see with people who, you know, fit as a fiddle and then all of a sudden become quadriplegic. They don't want to live, you know." And then the doctor, as he's walking out of the office, you know, Jeffrey sees that the doctor's walking out with Alan's girlfriend, and it's like, oh, I think he has more than just one thing to be upset about or depressed about, doesn't he, doctor? Isn't that convenient for you to prescribe him some medicine to keep him calm while you're running around with his ex-girlfriend? Basically Jeffrey calls him out on his bullshit and everything else, and her too. So Jeffrey's pissed off. So Jeffrey decides, hey, I'm gonna try to help my best friend out. I'm gonna use one of these monkeys that I've been injecting to make smarter to help my friend get around the house and maybe cheer him up at the same time. And I just so happen to have a female monkey, which is what this is Melanie Parker, the monkey trainer, and she's funded by the state in order to train these monkeys to help people with disabilities. And the only thing she tells him is like, we can't, I can't use one of my monkeys because all of my monkeys are pretty much spoken for. So Jeffrey says, well, I have the monkey. I can provide the monkey if you can provide the training or whatever. And so they strike up a deal to do that. And she basically tells him at this point it has to be a female monkey because if you try to use a male monkey, they will become aggressive and start to mark their territory throughout the house and, basically try to run the house. So he said it has to be, she basically tells him it has to be a female monkey in order to get the proper training that's needed. And so, yeah, they're, talking about it and everything. And then they finally go back to Alan's house with the idea of bringing this monkey in. And they bring the monkey in with all this equipment. And they show Alan what she can do and all this. And he's not quite sure at first, but then he goes along with it because he sees that the nurse doesn't really like it. And he doesn't really like the nurse anyway. So he's like, well, I'll probably get along with this monkey better than I will the nurse. So he might as well try. So at first, everything goes great. The monkey is learning very fast through the monkey trainer, Melanie here. And yeah, I mean, everything's going great. The nurse ain't liking it, though, obviously, because she feels like her job's being taken over by a monkey. And basically, it's like saying a monkey can do your job. And in this case, this one probably could. So it can do everything but lift them up. Anyway, and at this point in the movie, you see something. It's starting to change in the monkey and Alan himself. And the monkey is showing a little bit too much affection towards Alan, and it's trying to make Alan like go to bed. Basically, like you gotta follow my rules, do what I tell you to do. Like the monkey is becoming possessive over Alan as well at this point, to a certain degree. And they don't think much of it, at the first. And at the suggestion of the monkey, almost, it seems like Alan decides to shave his face. And of course, it has Melanie to help him out. And Melanie and Alan start to kick off a friendship in all this as well. And so, yeah, that's happening. Anyway, so they're showing off the monkey at a presentation and everything. Get further on. And then here's, hold on, there's a part where, yeah, so Alan starts to have these big, these rages of these, just, he's raging out a lot based on how the monkey feels or how the monkey feels. And like, if he feels rage, the monkey feels rage. Like they're starting to get like a connection, like too much of a connection, and it has something to do with the serum that Jeffrey has injected in the monkey, and the monkey's getting like these and he's having like these dreams where he sees what the monkey sees, and she's going off and doing her own thing at night and doing stuff she ain't supposed to do, and like the even it, like the nurse is fed up with it. She's like, I know the monkey did this. I know you and her are pitted against me and stuff like that. And like, she's just going nuts over the whole thing. And then she wakes up one morning because like throughout the whole movie, she's got like this little parrot or whatever that she just loves. And then she wakes up one morning and the monkey at that night had taken the parrot out of the cage, broke its neck, and put it in her shoe. So she wakes up in the morning to put her foot in her little slipper, and out comes a parrot or parakeet, whatever you want to call it. So yeah. Meanwhile, Jeffrey's back at the lab messing around with his formula, and he decides he's going to inject the other monkeys because he doesn't. He's trying. Dean Burbage is still getting on to him about not having results with the monkey, and then he's because the way that he was able to get Alan the monkey, he basically told everybody that the monkey died, and then but Dean Burbage is like, well, you should have kept the monkey and done like a autopsy or something so we can learn more from it. So why didn't you do all this? Like he's basically investigating Jeffrey and trying to get something out of him. And so Jeffrey decides, well, I'm just going to inject the rest of the monkeys in. He's got like, so he decides to do that. And then here's the mom, played by not Kate, what you call it, Joyce Van Patten, Dorothy Mann. And she's come by to tell Alan that basically she has sold her business or whatever so she could stay home with him and keep him company and everything else. And basically be a housekeeper for him, even though he didn't ask for it and didn't want it, get my drift. Well, the problem with his, what you call it, like he doesn't want her around like that, but because he has that feelings of not wanting her around, then the monkey is starting to reciprocate those feelings as well. And so the monkey's getting pissed. So yeah, she's giving him a bath and everything in that little sling that hangs over the bathtub, and she's talking to him and everything. Well, he wakes up realizing he just saw the monkey do something, and he's pretty sure he has a feeling of what it is. And that night he goes back to sleep and he finds that the monkey is doing something to these two guys because what happens is he finds out through another doctor that uh, Dr. John Weissman could have done the surgery a little bit different and given him his full ability back in all four of his arms. And based on what another Doc Williams, let's see if I can find Doc Williams here. Yeah, this guy here. He goes basically to get a second opinion from another surgeon, a spinal, physician or specialist, and he's saying this is why I always tell people to get a second opinion. And he's showing Alan the X-rays, and he say, "You see this right here? If he had just done this, you would probably have gained your control back in your arms and your legs and everything." He says, "But he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fix you until I know that you have some type of movement of your own. If you can prove to me that you can move your arm or something like that, I'll go ahead with the surgery and fix you. But until you can prove to me that you have some type of movement. But in my opinion, this is what he should have done, and he didn't do it, and that is why you're quadriplegic." So at this point, Alan is pissed that the Dr. John Weissman didn't fix him correctly, and then that Dr. John Weissman is also with his girlfriend after saving his life. And so that night, he's just severely pissed, and he even gets the monkey to call up Dr. John Weissman at his ex-girlfriend's, cabin in the woods or whatever. And so he's getting more pissed, and he starts to it looks like he's growing fangs in his mouth, and he's like biting it. and almost like he's growing monkey teeth in his mouth, and he bites his lip and is all bleeding and stuff, and the monkey's coming up and like licking the blood off his face. But he's all kinds of he's basically just raging out, and the monkey knows exactly what he wants. And so the monkey that night, as Alan is sleeping, goes to the cabin and lights it on fire, killing both Linda Aikman and Dr. John Weisman. So, yeah. And then the next day, Alan's trying to tell Melanie what he dreamed about and how it was done. He already knew that they had died from a fire because he saw the monkey do it in his sleep because he has that connection with her. And he's trying to tell Jeffrey the same thing, and Jeffrey really doesn't believe him. But he finally tells Jeffrey, "Take the monkey away. I don't want the monkey. It's causing things to happen to me." And Jeffrey at first doesn't believe him, and yeah. So that night they decide, John, yeah, Alan and Melanie. He decides to take a trip with her to her ranch where she trains the monkeys and stuff. And that night they kind of get it on. He has no function down below, so she takes advantage of the little function he does have, and use your imagination with the where she what she's sitting on. Anyway, as we go further, he's got the monkey back at the lab. Ella is back at the lab, and he's trying to inject her with something to see if she's really experiencing anything, and then he realizes what she's doing and realizes she is getting smarter. And then that's when this is when he meets with the second doctor again, Doc Williams, and this is when Doc Williams tells him, "Is like, yes, I can fix you since you do. If you do have any type of movement whatsoever, I think I can repair the damage that was done." And if you see this guy's face and it looks familiar, it's because he did play the doctor. He played a doctor on the miniseries The Stand. It was the one. He's the doctor that ends up patching up Rob Lowe's character. Anyway, go further on, and now the monkey and the mother. she's starting to she's starting to get pissed off that Alan is starting another relationship, and she's starting a relationship with Melanie. Why she's getting pissed off about it, I really don't understand, but she is getting pissed off. And then they go back to him, and of course, this is where Jeffrey is messing with the monkey, and it has done something and to the lab, and it has escaped. And then, of course, the mom's talking to him about, you don't, do you really need to see this, Melanie, and all this other stuff. And the monkey is back in the house. So after Alan and his mom are having these arguments and stuff, the monkey feels like, I need to take out the mom now. So as the mom, after they have their falling out argument right here, because she feels like, yeah, see, he's having this rage again because the monkey's nearby, and she pisses her off, and it upsets her, and then she goes off upstairs. Well, he's down in this bed, and he can't move, can't do anything, but he hears something happening upstairs with his mom in the shower, and as she's taking a bath or whatever, the monkey comes in, and of course throws something in the bathtub and kills her. Something with electricity, of course. So yeah, then we come back to Jeffrey. He shows up at the house after the monkey escaped. He shows up at Alan's house trying to find the monkey, and he's trying to turn the circuit breaker back on for the electricity because the electricity's gone off because somebody got electrocuted in the bathtub. So every time he turns the electricity back on, it pops back off because something's electrocuting upstairs. And so he goes to see Alan, puts him up in a chair or whatever, and he's like, "I'll go upstairs and check on your mom." And he finds his mom in the bathtub, and he's like, "That's not good." And then like he shows Alan like, look, I got these vials of poison that I'm going to try to get this monkey, put it down the most humane way I can by giving it this poison or whatever. And he's like, gotta do it. Like he's starting to rage out again, but then he's trying to get to the phone because Jeffrey is having a hard time with the monkey. And the monkey got the upper hand and injects Jeffrey with the poison instead. And of course, Jeffrey falls over and pretty much dies in the house. And now it's just the monkey and John. I mean, not John. It's just the monkey and Alan now. And so Alan's trying to think of ways to trick this monkey into doing something and to get at her. And she goes, and the monkey's not going to do anything he wants her to do. And then and then that's when Melanie shows back up, and he don't want Melanie to come in the house and all this stuff. And the monkey's going to plan to try to trip her up and everything. And like I said, Melanie doesn't think the monkey's really doing much of anything until Melanie comes in. Watch here. She thinks John is just, I mean, not John, I keep saying John, but she keeps thinking Alan is hallucinating these things. So she comes in. She doesn't buy that all this stuff is happening because of the monkey. And she's like, "Oh, really? The monkey's doing this?" And then as she starts to walk away, the monkey just basically, whoop, gets at her in a certain direction, and boom, knocks her ass out. And at this point, the monkey has defeated all her opponents for John's attention, not John's, Alan's attention. I keep wanting to say John for some reason, but he's. So the monkey decides, like, I'm in charge now. I'm going to do what I want to do. And he finds the monkey, Ella, she finds another needle of that poison that Jeffrey had brought with him. And she's like messing with Melanie with it. Like, I'm going to inject her. I want to inject her. And she goes so far as to pee in Alan's lap to show dominance over him. And so Alan, with electricity back on, since Melanie turned it back on, he's like, I can turn the radio on and get her close. So that's what he does. He acts like, he's going to be all lovey-dovey with Ella, because Ella's trying to light these matches on and light Melanie on fire. And he's trying to wake Melanie up to help her. Anyway, so Alan figures out that he can actually move his arm a little bit at this point, and he moves his arm just enough to turn the radio on, to turn the tape to play, and it's a song that he knows Ella likes, and so Ella sees that he's playing that song, and she's like, "Oh, you remember, lovey-dovey monkey," and so she gets up there in his lap and everything, and tries to act lovey-dovey with him. And as soon as that happens, and she tries to do a little hug on Alan, Alan just rages in, gets with his teeth, because that's the only thing he's got, grabs her by the neck, and just breaks her neck. As you can see here, like like a dog with a duck or a dog with something that's trying to kill. And basically, he ends up killing the monkey this way. And it's pretty gruesome. And then we cut over the next scene. We have the doctor, Doc Williams, basically showing him fixing to fix Alan here. And this is one of these iconic scenes that uh, the great Tom Savini had something to do with. Let's put it that way. Love this scene right here. Before I do this scene, I'll just let you know it's a gruesome looking scene. But yeah. if they had done more of this in the movie, I probably would give this a much higher rating. I'm probably going to stick with a 3-star movie for me on this movie. It's in the rad category, you know. But if they had done more of these type of effects throughout the movie, I'd probably get a higher rating because this was just a cool effect. It was like this was like a surprise, like the whole thing out of the Alien movie where the alien pops out of his stomach, and this is just funny. And I've watched this movie several times, and it always gets me because you're not expecting. Yeah, you're not expecting that to come out of his spine. So yeah, but then you cut over and then, oh he was just having a dream, and he wakes up from the surgery that this new doctor Doc Williams has done on his spine, and you find out it's like, hey, let's go fishing, and it's finally just him and her now because everybody else, his friends, his other doctor, his ex girlfriend, his mother, his best friend that gave him the monkey, they're all dead. So it's just her and him now. And of course, he can now somewhat move on his own with a crutch. So it's progress in the right direction. And that would be pretty much the end of this movie. And they ride off into the sunset. I guess you could say that. And end of the movie. Yeah, I give this a solid 3 stars. I really like this movie, but it's not my favorite George A. Romero movie, but it's got Tom Savini's practical effects in it. And I love that last practical effect that I showed you at the very end. Love it. It's like the chef's kiss on the end there, man. But yeah, three out of five for me for the entire movie. It is a 2 hour long movie. It's pretty long, so. But yeah, that's the way I'm gonna go, and that's my review. And that is me, Deafrowe, out.